In this, the final episode for Speak Out and Play for 2025, I will discuss Campaign Month, and I will also list my wishes for the new year. I will talk about what is new in Warfighter news and videos in Warfighter Corner, the new games that I've purchased, and what new non-Warfighter videos are being produced for In the Works, and the new videos being released for January 2026, all on Speak Out and Play. Hello, and welcome to the December 2025 edition of Speak Out and Play. Thank you for being here. I hope you had a Merry Christmas and are now, as we welcome in the new year. I would be honored to know that you kicked off your New Year's Eve celebrations by listening to this here podcast. Of course, I'm not sure how many of you are actually doing that, but I can always dream, can't I? Except for a few days this month, which have been bitterly cold, we have mostly enjoyed warmer than normal temperatures where I live, which means that Santa's wardrobe was jeans and a t-shirt when he arrived in my neck of the woods. But he did bring me a few goodies, which I will talk about a little bit later. For those who have watched the videos released on my channel for December, you may have noticed a pattern. 3 of the videos covered the campaign rules for Warfighter Vietnam, Upfront, and Gunslinger. Believe it or not, and probably not, I was never intending to create 3 videos about campaign rules and put them in the same month. But hey, that's what happened. Of course, when I was making the videos, I thought it was natural to create a theme for December, and why not? Of course, not every video in the month was about campaign rules, but I do consider the same theme for 3 weeks in a row to count. Campaign rules are an interesting format in wargaming, particularly with man-to-man tactical games, such as the ones I just mentioned. They allow you to broaden the experience of playing a game while, hopefully, not adding much in terms of new rules or greater complexity. Of course, with so much of the focus being on the new hotness, in other words, playing new games quickly before the next big thing arrives so that you can buy and play that quickly, and so forth, a good question is whether campaign rules are falling out of favor, or perhaps more accurately, are they in between passing trends? Or perhaps they are growing even larger in the wargaming world, with more people getting the most out of each game. I wish I knew the answer to that, as it would give me more insight into today's wargaming scene. In any event, campaign rules for games have been around for quite some time, and they will continue to be part of our gaming experience. The validity of campaign rules for certain types of games will no doubt be the subject for a future podcast, or perhaps one of my personal essays, but today we proceed to my wish list for 2026. No end-of-year podcast would be complete without a wish list for next year. So without further ado, here is my wish list for 2026. The perfect game. It's the quest that never ends, the search for the game that checks all the boxes, that combines easy-to-understand rules with enough decision-making ability that provides for endless replayability. Not just a single battle, but a system that can be applied to other battles and conflicts for even more variety. Of course, there is no perfect game in the general sense, but there are games that are perfect for you and me. They may have their flaws and annoyances, but they do the job. I've yet to find the perfect game for myself, but I have played many games that I've really enjoyed. More voices. I used to speak about this more often, but the same drumbeat still applies. Our hobby needs more voices, more people who express their enthusiasm through venues such as YouTube and other formats. And while I admit that creating a YouTube channel is beyond the commitment that most people can make, there are still not nearly enough people creating videos in our hobby today. So that's another thing I would like to see. More Warfighter tactical core sets for World War II. Note that I use the word tactical, as the Warfighter War game, which is going to be coming out sometime in the summer. The Kickstarter is already done for it, so hopefully we'll see it maybe before fall of 2026. We do have 4 core sets that cover Europe, Pacific, North Africa, and the Mediterranean theaters. But there are at least two that are still missing, and that is the East Front and the Far East, or China-Burma-India theater. Now, we do have the Russia and China expansions, and they're nice, but they only include a few missions and hardly touch the conflict that raged inside of Russia and the Far East. And while a series of expansions may work to cover the Russian front with more variety, it's really difficult to see how anything less than a core set could cover the Far East. In addition to expansion of Chinese forces, there is also India and Thailand, which participated in the Far East theater. Plus, the terrain runs from the dense jungles of Burma to the open steppes of Mongolia. Another benefit would be to provide more missions, objectives, and locations for the Korean War, which also falls into the Far East theater. More game system video series. I've garnered a solid reputation for my Warfighter and Upfront series of videos. Whether everyone likes them or not, I cannot say, but I'm happy with the results. Since Warfighter is what my channel is built around, those videos will continue at least 2 per month, with more added when new core sets arrive. Upfront, in particular, is a surprise given that I wasn't going to touch it at first, but when I didn't see anyone else step up to the plate, I went ahead and charged ahead. I've created basically a complete line of rules videos for Upfront, plus a series that covers the 501 City Fight and 4 scenario, which may be the ultimate way Upfront should be played. Now, I'm down to doing just a couple of Upfront videos a year, so that series will continue along with Gunslinger, another Avalon Hill game that, despite not having any expansions, certainly feels like a game system to me and not just a single game. So with Warfighter, Upfront, and Gunslinger well represented, I'm looking for a new system to cover. I can say that War of the Rings by Ares is already prepped with some videos completed, which means, is there another game system that is in print but not well represented by rules videos? Because as much as I enjoy War of the Ring by Ares, I recognize that a lot of people have already made videos on that game system. Now, I'm sure you're thinking of Combat Commander as being a rather obvious one, but I've seen quite a few rules videos on that. But is there another game system out there that could have a series of videos done for it? I'm certainly open to suggestions, so if you have one, please leave them in the comments. More ideas. I realize that because of how I put videos together and that I do not offer live streams or interact with other print wargame YouTube channels, that my channel has some limited appeal. There is not much, at least right now, that I can do about that, but I would like to have more input from you, my subscribers, and those who enjoy my videos, and I would like to see and hear what you want me to do as far as the format of some of the videos. Now, of course, I'm not made of money, and my time is rather limited, but it would be nice to hear some different ideas so I could at least open the door to making new types of videos. I've already expressed my lack of enthusiasm to make playthroughs, but I have made single-turn example videos, and I'm certainly more than willing to do more of those. And we all know my position on reviews, which is I would love to do reviews, but I don't have the time, I don't have the gaming group, I don't have the resources to do that. However, our wargaming hobby is more than just playthroughs and reviews, believe it or not. So if you have an outside-the-box idea, I'm more than willing to listen. Or, hey, that's a great way to start your own YouTube channel if you have something like that. So anyway, we go from my wish list to find out what is happening in the world of Warfighter with Warfighter Corner. And we start by saying not much is happening in the way of Warfighter in terms of any news from DVG about the Warfighter system in general. Now, Warfighter War, which is the new strategic version of Warfighter, is still at the printers and will probably take a little while to complete because there's the Chinese New Year and there's all that. So we're still looking at a midsummer 2026 release date, and that seems about right. When it arrives at my door, I will create an unboxing video and a brief overview of the game, and I will save a more extensive look for later in the year. I do not know if there will be any other Warfighter releases for 2026. Now, I've seen reports on Warfighter Ninja, which is still in the testing phase. So it seems that that game is some ways off in terms of a Kickstarter. Otherwise, that's all the news I know about Warfighter currently. So let's move on to videos. By the time this podcast goes on the air, I will have completed 24 new videos for Warfighter this month. Now, that includes 12 new unboxings, all from different eras and core sets. And I'm not just talking about World War II. I'm talking about all the core sets that Warfighter has right now. There will also be 4 videos that focus on specific rule sections. I'm kind of going back and redoing some of the rule videos that I made like 4 and 5 years ago. That's back in the days where I was making videos that were like a minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes long. These videos are more like 3 minutes, so they're a little bit more extensive. Now, there's one video that will be about Hold the Line mission, which I've done before, but this one's longer, more extensive, shows how it works. And then 3 videos that break down in a basic way the weapons used in the World War II core sets. Now, again, I've done this before, but I did them as separate videos. Here, I've grouped them into categories and gone through them again. Plus, I've done 4 Warfighter 29 videos, which is a series that provides you with 29 resource point teams that you can use to create your own missions. Now, in addition to all this, I've created a 5th video for the World War Z theater, which is built around the UK clergy representative. World War Z is, to me, a very rich area that I'm dedicating the week before the final Wednesday in October to this format. When you consider just how many core sets and expansions are available, there is a lot one can do to cover the various aspects of Warfighter. There is also the Korean War, which has its own expansions and even its own tactical display, although that is out of print, but my understanding is it's still readily available in several places. The coverage there is more limited because the only missions available are in the expansions. And as you can tell, I'm still firmly entrenched in the World War II core sets of Warfighter. Now, you will not see these videos for a while, as I've already made a full set of videos for 2026. As you can tell, my video production is getting totally out of control, to the point where I have made a video in case something happens to me, or in case I decide to leave all this, which tells you that there will be no more new videos on the channel. Now, I know this is crazy, but I thought about how far in advance that I've scheduled some of these videos, and I realized that if I got into an accident or if something happened that I had to stop making videos, that I would never have a chance to say goodbye on my terms. Now, the video that I've made, you will probably never see, but it is scheduled for the end of 2027. And if I make videos that go into 2028, then I will push back my goodbye video for another year. But all I can say is that if you do see the video, that will be the last video on the channel. So I've already made it. So I've kind of like built the exit door before the building is complete. One thing that I have learned from all this is that, did you know that you can schedule videos to be released up to 24 months in advance on YouTube? I know. It's not that interesting at all, is it? But that's what I found out. Anyway, let's move on from Warfighter and explore the happenings within the works. I didn't think I was going to purchase any games after my haul over the last couple of months, but lo and behold, I did take advantage of a few sales to bolster my collection. First, I purchased a few games from Worthington when they had a sale just before Thanksgiving. That included a sports game called Big Time Boxing because, I'm a Big Time Boxing fan. I also purchased Shogun Solitaire and the epic Battle of Elysia, a reprint of the Avalon Hill Classic from the 1970s. Now, I own the original game, which is not exactly in the best condition, which is one reason why I haven't made a video over it. But when I learned about the reprint, I kept it on my radar, and when Worthington had a sale, boom, baby, I picked it up. Now, I doubt that there'll be a video on Big Time Boxing, but hey, you never know. Once I go through it and play it, and if it lives up to its title, it might be there. However, I am planning on making videos of the other games, which will appear on my channel sometime in 2026. Shogun Solitaire is, as the name suggests, a solitaire game by Worthington that is part of their travel set of games. Small in terms of size and components, it is a card game where you must lead your forces to take enough objectives to win before time runs out. It's a very simple, straightforward game that has a solid production and a relatively low cost, so it should be, pretty well suited for people that are trying to take a break from bigger games, or maybe they don't have time to play longer games, or maybe you can't find an opponent and you need something that you want to play right away. The setup time's fairly minimal, and the gameplay does rely on pulling the right cards at the right time and handling the wrong ones as best you can. The overview that I'm making for it pretty much just covers the rules, cover to cover, because there's not that many rules to begin with. So I believe the rules are about 12 pages. And these are tiny pages, not big pages, tiny pages. So that's how that's going to work out. This means that you should get a solid idea of how to play the game. It's not just an unboxing video, but an overview and whether it's right for you. Now, the Epic Battle of Elysia is an interesting game. You might say it's close to being called a cult game, as I opined on during last month's podcast. Elysia is a large 2 to 3 player game, although it's not as large as a monster game, but it does have a pretty decent sized footprint. What makes the game special is the nature of the battle itself, with Vercingetorix at the center with his forces in Elysia, the Gauls approaching from off-map, and the Romans, who are also on the map board with a double-ring defensive walls and towers, much like a donut. Within the middle hole of the donut are the forces in Elysia, and outside the donut are the Gallic forces trying to attack them. This unique battle is augmented by how the Gauls can enter from anywhere, which means the Roman player has no idea until all the forces strike. However, the nature of the walls means that the Gallic player cannot normally get more than a 2-to-1 attack at any point, which makes getting a breakthrough difficult, as it was historically. The Gaul must be flexible to exploit breakthroughs when they happen, and time Vercingetorix to leave the center and make a break for it. I don't know. I talk about cult status, and the thing about Elysia when it was with Avalon Hill is that it did have some mainstream popularity, but it is an example of the type of game that's probably normally only played once or twice a year by its dedicated fans. You might argue that War of the Ring by Ares shares a similar distinction in terms of play, although in the latter's case, there's actually a full-blown World Championship tournament for that game, something that the Epic Battle of Elysia does not have, at least right now. Now, there are large multi-map monster games that belong to, shall we say, a more complex area of wargaming, with a history that dates back to the 1970s. I do not believe that this version, or Avalon Hill's version, qualifies as a monster game, but be prepared to, have a large area on your table open for the map board and the scale that it depicts. And because I've seen articles and photos from people who gather more than once a year, or more than once a year to play it, and play the old Avalon Hill version, I think you can make a decent argument that perhaps today it's a cult game. It kind of fits those lines. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below what you think about that. Whether that will apply to the new Worthington version, I cannot say. What I can say is the Worthington version is pretty well presented. It offers a new map board that is mounted and comes in 2 sections. Just remember that you will need that room around the table as the Gallic forces come from off-board. That's what helps make the game more special, because the Gaul player can attack early with most of their forces in one quick strike, or wait a full day to surround the Romans before charging across the landscape. However, that will mean less time to get Vercingetorix out of Elysia. And there will be a Kickstarter game from DVG, which is scheduled for 2026, January. I will post a notice when it goes live on Kickstarter. I will not say anything more about that because I don't know anymore, so I'm not going to speculate. After all, it's not the first time that I have been totally wrong about something, and it will not be the last. But when it happens, I will tell you as soon as I know. So, yes, I know some things, but I don't know everything. But when it comes out, when the Kickstarter is announced, I'll announce it in my news section so it'll be posted immediately, and then I'll talk about it in the podcast at the end of January if it happens. And that is what is in the works. So what videos can you expect to see from Seek Out and Play for the first month of the new year? Let's find out with coming attractions. For the first week of the new year, 2026, Seek Out and Play presents an overview of Blue and Gray Deluxe Edition by Decision Games. Originally released by SPI, the overview covers the components, basic rules, and how to achieve victory in the 8 battles and 1 campaign presented in the game. For the second week of the new year, 2026, Seek Out and Play presents 2 videos for Warfighter Week. The first is an unboxing and presentation of Warfighter 2023 Update Number 2. The video covers the new cards that replace outdated versions in Warfighter. The second video presents 2 different UK teams for Warfighter 29, a way to play missions using just 29 resource points. The video provides a starting point for players using the Warfighter 29 system. For the third week of January 2026, Seek Out and Play presents the Mahdi solo rules for Dune, War for Arrakis. The video covers how the Mahdi solo rules work so you can play the game without an opponent. Check out more videos when you subscribe to the Seek Out and Play YouTube channel. In addition, there is a monthly Speak Out and Play podcast, which you can find on Buzzsprout and Spotify. For just $2 per month, you can support the channel by becoming a Patreon member and see the videos and podcast 48 to 72 hours in advance. At least one new video is released every week on the Seek Out and Play YouTube channel, so I will see you next Wednesday. And that's it for this edition of the Speak Out and Play podcast. Thank you for listening. Each audio edition of the Speak Out and Play podcast is released on the last Friday before the last Wednesday of each month on Buzzsprout, Apple, Spotify, and more. A video version is released on the Seek Out and Play YouTube channel on the last Wednesday of each month. Speak Out and Play is a monthly podcast from the Seek Out and Play YouTube channel. Every episode, I talk about wargaming, historical board gaming, the Warfighter series by DVG, games that I have purchased and producing videos for, and the coming attractions of videos that will appear on the following month on the Seek Out and Play YouTube channel. If you have any questions, ideas, or suggestions that you want to see featured on the Speak Out and Play podcast or the YouTube channel itself, please let me know in the comments section. At least one new video is released every week on the Seek Out and Play YouTube channel, so I will see you next Wednesday. And if you see Sally, bring her all the way home.